Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts, and this is another episode of the Readily Random Podcast.
Hey, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly.
Today, I feature someone that has a life mission that, unbeknownst to him, and I had no idea who he was, regrettably, but I have a similar mission, and I believe that my voice has got me where I'm at today. And communicating on, I don't want to sound too egotistical here, and I mean, I'm going to insult myself basically by saying it's in front of somebody like Arthur, but communicating, as you can tell right now with my stuttering, is something that I've excelled at throughout my life. And it's something that I focused on to get me where I'm at today. Because if I couldn't communicate, as many of you know, I don't have a degree. I came right out of high school, fell into selling cars, sold cars for X amount of time, owned a karate school for X amount of time, then went to work as a corporate trainer. And 21 years later, you find us talking to each other right now. So Mr. Arthur Joseph is with me today, and he is a speech coach to the stars. We're talking everybody from Oscar winners like Angelina Jolie and Sally Field to some of our other silver screen heroes like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, Sylvester Stallone's got the new Rambo out there. Haven't seen it yet, but I probably will. Also, he's the coach to NFL athletes, NBA athletes, and one of my favorite coaches of all time, Pat Riley. Mr. Joseph is also a TEDx speaker. He's the author of multiple books on the power of voice. And he's a regular contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine. And his mission, here it is, his mission is to change the world through voice. That is something, again, that I have said time and again along those same lines. Now, that hasn't been my mission by any means, but I have stressed that quality communication skills and the ability to speak on a higher level will allow you to excel to peaks that you normally wouldn't be able to achieve any other way. So let's learn from the best, and let's talk to Mr. Arthur Joseph. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Larry, what a pleasure. What a stunning introduction. I'm humbled and honored. Thank you so much.
I'm honored that you're here. When I was presented with the opportunity to interview you or just have a chat with you like we're doing now, I wasn't sure of exactly who you were. So I started doing some homework and doing a little research, and I saw your TEDx speech. And then I started digging deeper, and then I, of course, landed on your website and got to looking at who you had coached in the past, and started looking at some of the students of your student body is unparalleled. It's amazing. So tell us more about that and how you managed to start off. And I understand you've been doing it for quite some time now.
This is my 54th year, Larry.
54th year. So obviously it's taken time to get to the level that you're at. Tell us how you got started, what drove you to get started with speech, and where it's taking you.
Let me tell your audience that we're on video, and you gave me permission to play and interrupt your patterns.
Yes.
Many years ago, I trained Tony Robbins, and he's a prominent motivational speaker. And he would refer to my 7 rituals as pattern interrupts. Create a new pattern where you exaggerate behavior to break an old one. So as you've been speaking, you haven't been looking at me. So as we continue, look at me and say one thing while you're looking at me.
Say one thing while I'm looking at you right now. Here I am.
Yeah. Now, do you hear your pitch just changed? The voice just got subtly lower.
And that's where I was going to go, is say it seemed like I was speaking in an octave lower than I was speaking before.
Because, see, you're looking up there again.
I sure am. Well, I was thinking.
Doesn't matter where we think. When we speak with another person, we want to maintain eye contact.
Sure.
Because it literally changes the sound of your voice. 2, I love your integrity already. I love your passion, your intensity. So if I say to you, Larry, it's a real pleasure being on your show today. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to get into this stuff. Versus, I'm really excited to get into the stuff, Larry. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Now, we don't know why we don't trust the first one. We just know it's a little disingenuous and maybe a little silly. We don't recognize that my pitch was too high and I spoke too fast. All we get is, I don't trust it. The second one, we don't know that Arthur breathed. He slowed down and his pitch went lower. All we got is, he is more authentic. I teach empowerment through voice. Voice is power. When we own our voice, we own our power. Doesn't mean big, bombastic. It means integral. Sociologists, you perhaps have heard the stupid, bogus, empty bill of goods they've fed us for decades. The greatest fear in society is public speaking.
Sure.
It's ridiculous. However, the greatest fear are two fears, Larry. Fear of abandonment and ownership of my power. Claiming who I am without fear of what you think of me being me. Oh, don't act like that. What will people think? Oh, you shouldn't say that. That sounds arrogant. So if I say, hey, Larry, vocal awareness is extraordinary work. It can help you change your life in moments. Versus, vocal awareness is extraordinary. It can help you change your life in moments. That's my truth. So it's not just what we say, it's how we say it. It's not simply the message, but the messenger. Am I making any sense, Larry? I don't come up for air, but I'm coming
No,
up
it's
for
fine. And but I did want to interject, and I just don't want to interrupt your flow.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
Sit as a man of stature, Larry, feeling this thread pull from the top of your head. Taller. Get taller. You're going to probably have to adjust your mic just a little bit. Good. And now we're going to take a 5-second silent, loving breath before you say what you want to say. Do you know what you wanted to say?
Yes.
First of all.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to breathe silently and lovingly with myself guiding. 5, inhaling deeper. 2, deeper, deeper in your statement.
Some of the things you just said are the direct opposite of what Tony Robbins would present. You mentioned Tony earlier. So he speaks faster. He speaks more verbose. Obviously, he's a very, very large man. So does this play back into the fact that that's his truth as compared to the way you speak is your truth?
What an interesting thought. You felt and heard that substantial shift, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now you got another gear you get to play with. Because right now you only have one, and it's warp. And I get whiplash. and in your case, it's really genuine. You are this passionate. You are this excited. You have an insouciance for cardboard, for God's sakes. Everything jazzes you. And am I right, by the way?
Yeah, you're pretty close, yes.
And so my answer to Tony is intense and passionate. And when you're 6, 9, or 10, or whatever Tony is, you're a big man. But we came together years ago because of the vocal challenge. He was damaging his voice in part. We're going to be reconnecting most likely quite soon for the same reason. Because you can't burn it at both ends and in the middle. And so we have to reconnect to technique. And so I teach communication mastery, but I also teach mastery through communication. It's a metaphor.
Okay.
I teach a lot of elite athletes and great artists. I'm a classical singer by training. I have a master's in voice. And in the arts and athletics, except in deep, profound spiritual pursuit, it's the only time one really has the opportunity to be in mastery. I've got 23 students in the Pro Football Hall of Fame alone.
Wow.
And I write a lot of their Hall of Fame speeches with them. And some that come to mind, Ladanian, Michael Irvin's Emmett, Marshall Falk, Terrell Davis, etc. And I share the names because I'd like people to watch. Just go to YouTube. Ladanians went viral. And know that we don't just work on the writing, we work on the performance. And they're performed in a technique I call visceral language, conveying the emotion of words. As a singer, I look at music and it tells me everything to do. But none of us, even if we're doing a keynote or PowerPoint presentation, those are the only two times we really write the words down.
Right.
Most of the time it's extemporaneous. So I teach us how to see in our mind's eye everything we're saying. See what words I even underlined. You can see them now. And the stress I put on a certain syllable. And even the punctuation at the end of the thought. So I teach us how to make voice visual. I don't know one elite athlete or one great artist who is not totally hubristic in their skill set. It is all about me. That player isn't thinking, I hope my teammates approve and my coach likes what I'm doing. The audience on the stage doesn't say, I hope the audience likes me. Of course, we all want to be loved and stroked, but we're so totally self-focused in our craft. But out here, we don't know how to do that. So in vocal awareness, I teach us how to own who we are without approbation. So if I say to you, repeat this statement, please, if you wouldn't mind, Larry.
Sure.
I'm an extraordinary man and I do extraordinary things. First of all, do you believe that?
Most of the time. This is so ironic because you're bringing up self-doubt and worry of making claims that we fear others will not see or will mock.
You're
and
honest.
If you have listened to my podcast, which I know you haven't had an opportunity to do that, and one of my biggest complaints about myself is the fact that I have imposter syndrome in everything I do. It's just the only.
Did you read the article on my website about the imposter syndrome?
I have not, but I will look it up and I will definitely
I
read
wrote
that.
it for, I think it was for Huffington a few years ago.
Okay. I'll definitely look that up because that would definitely speak to me on a level that many other articles probably would not. It's something, again, that I struggle with religiously. About the only time I didn't struggle with it was in martial arts. I never questioned it there because it was either you did well and you didn't get punched in the face, or you didn't do so well and it stung a bit more than it should have. When you have situations like speaking, podcasting, facilitating, you get into positions or situations where you're looking for affirmations based on maybe even verbal responses from the audience, whether it's a chuckle or whether you see someone adjust in their seat. You're looking for these, at least I do. And I think I look for that way too much. And that led me to podcasting.
I already spoke to your integrity, and here's yet another example. The roots of the word integrity and integration have the same root source.
Mm-hmm.
Literally mean wholeness. And so here, years ago, I trained Steven Seagal for many years.
Okay.
I mentioned this individual. He's got a lot of challenges, but one of them was not in martial arts. He is a 9th degree Aikido master.
Correct.
And one night when he was married to Kelly LeBrock, we used to go out, my bride and Rebecca and I, for New Year's Eves together. And after one of these dinners, he used to have a dojo in Los Angeles at Santa Monica and La Cienega. And we went back to his dojo about 11 o'clock at night, and he put on his gi, and there's a big picture of his master. And at midnight, he did a demonstration with his class. With a couple of them were 5th and 6th degree Aikido masters as an homage to his teacher. And in a couple of instances, they actually could not touch him because his chi was so powerful. When you would teach or compete, before you walked on the mat, you bowed.
Sure.
Sure. But before this podcast, you have no rituals. Before that PowerPoint, we don't have rituals. I don't know one artist or one athlete who doesn't have a ritual before they compete or perform. And the ritual always has a spiritual component because it's required in mastery. All mastery is only achieved when we integrate mind, body, spirit. You know that in martial arts, but we don't connect the dots outside of that. In vocal awareness, we do. For example, take a deep breath, Larry, and say, when I speak, I need to be aware, the apex of that inhale.
When I speak, I need to be aware.
Now, with your eyes on me, I'm going to help you breathe, and it's called a conscious, loving breath. It will be silent. It will take 5 seconds, and the apex the same sentence. In 5, 4, 3, deeper. Let's start again.
I know, because I'm thinking too much. Give me the phrase one more time, because I'm trying I'm thinking of the.
When I speak, I need to be aware.
There you go. Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
In 5, deeper, loving, loving, deeper.
When I speak, I need to be aware.
You feel and hear the difference.
Sure.
And all we did was breathe differently. Now, may I use the word God or source or something like that?
Sure.
I have 7 rituals that I've already referenced. The first one is to say thank you to God, or thank you to source, or simply thank you. So don't say it aloud. Really take in the thought, Larry, of saying thank you and embrace it for a moment.
Okay.
You feel your internal and external space are quieter, correct?
Yes.
And did you notice you inhaled?
I did not.
Let's do it again. Say thank you to God, please, Larry. You're holding back, Larry.
Sorry.
You just tested to see if I'm paying attention.
That's exactly right.
So
here we go.
really embrace the thought. Now you feel the inhale, of course.
Sure.
Did I ask you to breathe? No, of course not. The body inhaled automatically. The root of the word spirit, spiritus, means to breathe. I don't want you to motivate your audience. I want you to inspire them, inspirare, to breathe into them. So this is one of the rituals. It's our third one, to allow a conscious, loving breath. Because the breath is not only physical, it's emotional.
Sure.
And so in your martial arts training, how critical is breath? We know it's foundational.
Of course.
And if you showed one iota of fear or anxiety, you're on the mat. You're clocked.
It's over before it starts. That. Yes.
But you had an off switch. The moment you leave the dojo, you just get to hang out and be normal, quote unquote. In vocal awareness, because this is mastery through communication, there is no off switch. So we use this breath in our PowerPoint. We use this breath on our date. We use this breath in a job interview. We use stature to claim ourselves. I tell every athlete in every first lesson, you bring the talent to your sport, but someone has actually taught you every single thing you do. Without that training, your talent is simply wasted. Who teaches us to be ourselves? So we reach adulthood and we think this is us.
Right.
But it's not. It's only habit. And so I'm teaching us, Larry, that we are not our behavior. If I've got a hook in my game, I don't have a gig unless I get rid of the hook. If I can't do chaînés to the right as a ballet dancer, I don't have a gig. We know that. But here, I can be as impoverished emotionally as possible, and I can still make a living. but am I making the living that I deserve to make? Am I living the life I choose to live? Or do I settle? When I was writing a speech for one of my Hall of Famers a couple of years ago, I have a theme in my work called "A Champion Does It Differently." So I looked up the word champion, and I was surprised to discover it is not a sports-centric word. What it literally means is dazzlingly skilled in any field. I know, that's what I said, man. And so I'm helping us awaken our inner champion to claim who we are without approbation. Who am I going to get permission from? We're even taught in presentation classes to bond with your audience, for God's sake. So what if you have one POV and somebody else has another? Now I'm screwed because I can't serve you both. So going back to this hubristic notion, the power is in being who I am, and the courage, the heart that it takes to be that is what this work is in part about.
That's a lot to take in.
Am I being too intense?
Not at all.
Am I making any sense?
Unbelievable amount of sense. And I hope that my audience can relate to it the same way that I can, because obviously you keyed in on the fact that my martial arts background and how I can relate back to it. You even brought a world famous martial artist. Some folks may not even know that he's a true martial artist, but you also referenced Steven Seagal in a way to establish a connection or something that I could relate to in order to drive home your points. And I hope my audience can pick up on that as well, but you are making complete sense to me.
Thank you. May I interject, Larry?
Sure.
Yes, my website has all kinds of illustrious names. But this work is for everybody. I've trained Holocaust survivors. I've trained literally a child as young as about 6 or 9 months to nonagenarians. I've literally, when I used to be a professor at USC, I had a deaf student in my voice class. I've literally taught deaf people to sing. This work is for all of us. It's part of the human condition. I tell my students, when you give me your voice, you give me who you are. And that relationship is sacrosanct. We're all wearing the emperor's new clothes, Larry. But the root of the word intimate, intimus, means intrinsic or essential. I don't want us to feel like we're exposed. I want us to claim our power. I teach people that vocal awareness is a being work, not a presentational work. But we have to do it to be it, and we don't realize how much work it takes to be ourselves while others watch. When I say I want to change the world through voice, this is vibration, this is energy. A number of years ago, I was teaching at Naropa University for a master class one week, and I had the privilege of meeting a profound rabbi who traveled. He's passed away. He was in his early 80s when I met him. He passed away approaching 90. And even traveled in circles. The Dalai Lama was one of his close friends, that kind of individual. And he invited me to his home for dinner Saturday night with just himself, his wife, and her mother. But before dinner, he invited me into his study to study me. And I said, Rabbi, this is inappropriate. I'm here to sit at your feet. And he said, I know of your work and I'm studying your vibration. He said, evil is so entrenched in the universe, it can't be confronted head on, but only in the vibratory plane. The man who created transcendental meditation many decades ago, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, used to say that he wanted to have 1 billion meditators on the planet to shift the vibration of the planet. We are in the most dangerous time in our society since World War II. And part of what I'm doing is impersonating the movie Network, 1988, and lifting up windows and saying, I'm mad as hell. and I don't want to take it anymore. We've abdicated our responsibility. And I'm trying to awaken us because we cannot let it go on any longer. But that takes courage. So what I'm sharing with you and the energy if you listen back to our podcast, notice how it makes you feel. Notice a moment ago when I talked about how quiet your space was. It was because of the way I was communicating with you energetically, like right now. So I want our audience to understand that when they walk into any room, they do have the keys to the kingdom. So if we put ourselves in stature, and we don't really sit up straight, rather we slowly and elegantly pull a thread from 3 inches below our navel with our hand, right up through the middle of our head, what in yoga is called your crown chakra, right up through the top, and extend our arm. And we release our tongue and jaw, our neck and shoulders, and we'll discover that our chest opens and our core engages. So we feel more empowered. This is a pattern interrupt. Because speech is habit, nobody thinks about these things.
Right.
Then we say thank you to Source. People have said to us for decades, the meeting begins before you walk in the room. But we don't know what to do with that. We just, okay, that's a cool thought. But in vocal awareness, I have a mastery moment. That takes maybe 30 or 40 seconds of putting ourselves in stature. Identifying how we want to be known, our persona statement. For our identity is largely conveyed through the sound of a voice. The root of the word persona means through the sound. How do I want to be known? Then practicing how to embody that on your mirror, on video. Whoa, why does that intimidate me so much? So then we thank Source again. We allow our 5-second silent, conscious, loving breath. We think about what the vision is for our talk or why we're walking into this room, the job we want. Wow, the date I'm going on. So that we embody the integrity of whom we're capable of being. When we walk in. Do you have a piece of paper, Larry?
I do not. Such a digital age.
Phone?
I do have my phone, yes.
So please type the 7th ritual, be myself. And tell me when you've done that.
Got it.
You wrote 2 words, be myself, I presume, correct?
Correct, yes.
Now write it as it's actually intended. It's 3 words. Be myself, and the third word begins with a capital S. Please write it again.
Got
See
it.
the difference?
Oh, definitely, yes.
That's this work. It doesn't say present. For whose approval? So as we begin to wrap up today, because I know I've almost overstayed my welcome, and I'm sorry for going on so long.
You
but
definitely wouldn't and I don't mean to interrupt, but you definitely wouldn't overstate your welcome. I can I can guarantee that. But thank you.
So I really want to give your audience clear takeaways. Because nobody can take our power away from us, but we can hand it to them on a silver platter. And I don't want us to do that anymore. So when I say my mission is to change the world through voice, you get my point.
Exactly.
And it has been a real joy, a real privilege to be on a podcast with a man who is as authentic as you are and who cares as much as you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Genuinely, thank you. And I'm looking at you as I say that to drive home the thanks. Wow, I'm going to have to digest what we've discussed, and I only have one regret, and that's that I haven't spent more time with you or have the opportunity to spend more time with you. Just to see, too, and I'm going to start winding it down here, how I think that I have somewhat of a grasp on communication. And just before we started even, I was bragging on myself as how I feel like I'm a communicator and communication, which it has, but we don't know what we don't know until we learn what we don't know.
It's one of my favorite statements.
So it's a real honor to learn more about what I don't know. And I can't wait to pick up one of your 5 books
Yeah. Mhm.
in regards to the power of voice, and read each and every one of your works. And I very much look forward to it.
Let me know when you've read the Imposter Syndrome article, please.
I definitely will. I'll drop you a note.
Anything else, Larry?
That's it on this end. If you'll give me just a minute, I'll wrap this up and be right back with you to tell you bye, okay?
God bless.
Hey, everybody. Thank you once again for listening to another awesome episode of the Readily Random podcast. And today it truly was awesome. And it continues to be more awesome because although you can't see it, Arthur is still coaching me as I go through the conclusion of the podcast. And it's something that just, it's awesome. There's no other word for it. And hopefully you feel the same way. So you can look him up. He's easy to find on Google. Again, 5 different books that you can choose from. Tons of articles everywhere. There's videos. Look him up on YouTube. Learn a little bit more about him and about yourself and how to take your voice and be your future through empowering yourself with the power of voice. Thank you once again, and we'll do it again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.